Hey y'all, I'm Hope. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm talking about my November TBR, which I am so shocked it's almost November. It took me a minute to realize that I needed to switch gears and figure out what I wanted to read for next month. October has not been the most successful reading month for me. I've read some things I really liked, but I've just been so busy. I really thought I was going to be kind of calmed down with school stuff. That ended up not being the case. So it's just been a more hectic month than I was anticipating it being. And that's, I think, partially contributed to my feeling of what do you mean it's almost November? No, it can't possibly be that. Time can't have passed, but it has, and now we are almost in November. So that being said, and because I've been so busy, I've decided I want to use November as a kind of catch-up month. I want to get through some things that I've been meaning to get to. So this is going to include some arcs that I've been meaning to get to, or arcs that I have that are coming out in November. I have one arc that comes out in November that I need to get to. This is going to be reading some of the library books that I have on my shelves and getting rid of some of my currently reading books because I have a bunch of those, and also catching up on some of my other goals that I set earlier in the year. So to start, I think I'll talk about arcs first, and I'm planning to read 2 arcs in November. So the first arc that I want to read is System Collapse by Martha Wells. This is the newest book in the Murderbot series, and I have been planning to read this for Spookopolython, and it's still possible I may read it in the next few days, but I'm thinking that's less and less likely, so I do just want to go ahead and put it on my November TBR, and hopefully I will get through it in the first week or so of November. So this one I'm super excited for, but I really can't tell you anything about the plot. 1, because I don't know, and 2, because it would spoil the end of Network Effect. So if you haven't read that far in the Murderbot series, I don't want to spoil that for you, because Network Effect is one of my favorite books in the series. It's the first full-length novel, and System Collapse is going to be the next one, so very excited for it, but yeah, I can't tell you anything about the plot because I'd be spoiling the end of Network Effect, which I think is a really fantastic book, so I think you should just read that one. The other arc I want to get to is The Twyford Code by Janice Hallett. This is one I've had for ages now. It came out, I want to say, in January or something, and I started it, and at the time I started it, I was in a bit of a slump, and so I just never finished it. But this one is a murder mystery told through audio transcripts, and the setup is that the main character is a former con man, I think, or possibly a gang member, but he's been in prison for a few years. He gets out of prison and he ends up getting an old iPhone, and he starts investigating a series of mysteries that surround a book he found when he was a child. That he found the book, and shortly thereafter one of his teachers went missing, and he thinks that something with the book and that disappearance are connected, so he's doing his own little investigation to try and figure out what happened to that teacher who went missing all these years ago. And then the book is told through audio transcripts because he himself has gone missing, and the police have found this iPhone that he was recording all of his evidence into. The next kind of category of things, I'm not actually going to give specific titles, but I want to work on my currently reading list. So besides The Twyford Code, I have 16 books on my currently reading, and I did a video a couple of months ago on all the things that were on my currently reading list at that point. I want to say it was in August, and most of those are still on my currently reading. Might have been September. But I'll just link that video here in case you want to go check it out, because most of those books are still on the list. So all of those are still contenders for something I might read in November. The next category I have is library books, and this one's here because I literally just picked up a couple of library holds earlier today. I turned in one I realized I just was never going to read, and I picked up the other 2 that just came in the last week. So the first of the 2 library books that I just picked up and that I would love to get to in early November, these are due around mid-November, is Hemlock Island by Kelly Armstrong, which is about a woman who has been renting out her vacation home, which is called Hemlock Island, and it's the only way she's been able to keep it through a pandemic-fueled divorce. But sometime after the divorce, she starts hearing that her renters are getting frightened, and I think a few of them end up fleeing. And it's this escalating series of events that starts with kind of moving objects and just kind of strange off things happening, to a family fleeing in the middle of the night because they hear scratching sounds in the closet and find nail marks as if somebody has tried to claw their way out and failed. So it just sounds like it's going to be super spooky because she goes to investigate that along with her niece, and then a bunch of other people show up also to investigate. Her ex-husband shows up with his sister, and the protagonist's former best friend, and another high school friend of theirs shows up with her brother who's a cop. So it's kind of like a paranormal mystery, or at least it seems like it's probably a paranormal mystery. And then there's also this element of drama and secrets, and I think it's going to be really tense and really fun. The other one I picked up is Knock Knock Open Wide by Neil Sharpson, which is a horror book set in Ireland, I believe, in Dublin, and I'm so excited to read this one because it sounds super weird, but I also am wanting to do something about new releases set in Ireland because I have another book on this list that is also a thriller set in Ireland. So I think that might be a fun video to do in November once I'm done with my project stuff. But this one is following a woman named Atane who many years ago was driving home at night and found a corpse. She takes the corpse to a barn. Why, I don't know. But she ends up having a night of absolute horror that she never speaks about again. 20 years later, another young woman moves to Dublin to go to college and ends up meeting a girl named Ashley Malling. Or is it Ashley? I think it's Aisling Mallon. Aisling Mallon. And she kind of starts a relationship with Aisling and then finds out about Aisling's mother, Atane, and there's some sort of like family secret that Aisling is convinced is connected to a seemingly innocent children's program. So it sounds like it's going to be super weird. It sounds like it's kind of got a lot going on. And I just think it's going to be a fun experience. It's something I have no idea what to expect from as well, similar to Hemlock Island. And I think it's just going to be a really cool book to pick up. And I'm still kind of in the mood for some horror books and some spookier things as we move into November. I think of spooky season as kind of extending up to about Thanksgiving. That's where it ends for me. So I'm pretty excited to be picking this one up. Next up, I want to talk about the series I want to focus on for November. And this was not one that was actually on my series to complete or series to start list for the beginning of the year. But I'm choosing this series because the third book in the trilogy comes out in November. And this is the Last Binding series by Freya Marske. I've already read the first book, so I'm hoping to go ahead and read the second book in early November, fingers crossed. This is A Restless Truth, and it follows Maud, who is the sister of one of the protagonists from the first book, as she goes on a cruise with an older woman who turns up dead, and then starts working with another woman named Violet to try and investigate this mystery. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. My best friend has already read this and she loved it, and I'm just super excited to see Maud get her romance and see her actually get to be like a full character, because I really like her in the first book as well, and so I'm excited to learn more about her, and it sounds like Violet's going to be really interesting too. So I'm really excited about this one. And then the third book comes out, I want to say in mid to late November, and it's A Power Unbound. I might be wrong on that. I'll try to remember to put the date on the screen somewhere. But this one is following, I think his name is Lord Hawthorne, who is such an asshole in book one. I've heard he gets better in book two, or like we learn more about him. Not that he changes, but we learn more about him. And then he's one of the protagonists for book three. So I think that's going to be so interesting, and I'm very excited to be finishing out this series because I love the first book so much. Penultimate category I have here is new releases, and this is because I've been trying to make an effort to read new releases or new books that I've bought fairly soon after they come into my collection, and I've not been doing a terrible job of it, but I've not been doing as well as I would like. So I have a selection of new releases here that I would really love to read in November that are all books I've been really excited for. I'm going to start with The Trap because this is the other book set in Ireland that I would really like to read. I believe these are both also Irish authors. So this is by Catherine Ryan Howard, and this one is a thriller based on real events. It's on a series of real disappearances. But in this one, a series of young women have been going missing, and it follows two women who are investigating the case. One of them, her sister, has gone missing, and she wants to know what has happened to her. And then the other one is working in some sort of administrative capacity for the missing persons unit, but she really wants to be a detective in the An Garda Síochána, and so she starts trying to investigate to kind of prove her mettle here. And then I think there's also maybe a third perspective from a woman who has been captured, and so she's like in the backseat of the kidnapper's car, and we're getting like that piece as well. So it sounds like it's going to be super creepy, and I'm really excited to see how these different women deal with the situation, and I think it's going to be a really interesting read. And again, I think it'd be cool to do a video on some of these new releases that are set in Ireland, a place that I've been that I think is just super cool. I spent 5 months in Dublin for study abroad, and it was just such a neat place, and I'm excited to be reading some books set there because I don't think I've read many or any at all, which, well, I probably have read some that I'm just not thinking of off the top of my head, but it's been a while. So it'll be fun to be reading some that are set in a place that I'm kind of familiar with. Then I've got The Death I Gave Him by M.X. Liu, which I think I put on my TBR for October. I can't quite remember, but this one is a sci-fi locked room murder mystery retelling of Hamlet, which is a lot of things, and they're all things that I love. Then we got one that just came out this month. This is Starling House by Alex E. Harrow. I haven't read anything from her before except a single short story that I liked the writing in. I didn't love the story, but I am excited to try this one out because I think the plot of this sounds more compelling to me. I read The Six Deaths of the Saint, which I know a lot of people really loved, and I loved the writing. I just didn't think the story connected for me, but this sounds like something I'm really gonna like because it's a kind of gothic-y, spooky house story, and I'm excited about that. And then lastly, a book I would really love to make a video on as well is Murder in the Family by Kara Hunter. I think at least a couple of people have done this before. I know Meg with Books did a video trying to solve this book back in, I want to say like June or July, because this book came out several months ago in the UK and it just came out in the US. So I've been wanting to do something like that with this book and try to solve it myself, because this book is about a cold case that is now being reinvestigated. It's the death of the stepfather of a famous filmmaker, and now this TV show is pulling together a bunch of experts and all of the witnesses from the original case and all of the documents and trying to figure out what happened to this man who was found dead in his garden. This is actually a mixed media story where you're reading the interviews and going through the documents and you get to try and solve the mystery yourself, and I just love the concept of that. So I think it would be really fun to try and solve it myself. So I've actually specifically not watched Meg's video yet because I really want to watch it, but also I really want to try and solve it myself first. The very last category I try to include every month kind of goes along with that one. This is pre-orders. I'm trying to get better about reading pre-orders in the month that I get them or the month directly after. And all of my pre-orders for this month are in other parts of this list. But the last one I haven't mentioned yet is The Lover, or The Lovers, I think. I can't remember if it's plural or not. I think it's The Lover. Yeah, The Lover by Sylvia Moreno Garcia. I don't know anything about this. I just know it's a short story and it's Sylvia Moreno Garcia, so I pre-ordered it. And that's it. So these, plus a few ebooks, are all of the books I'm going to try and read in November, and I'm really excited. I think this is going to be a really fun selection. I am hoping that my reading will pick up once I get my final project turned in. My project partner and I have been working pretty heavily on this for the last week or two. So we're feeling good about the direction we're going, but I'm hopeful that once we've finished that and gotten it turned in, I'm gonna have a lot more time to kind of tackle these, because I'm really excited about all of these books and I would really love for November to be a more productive reading month for me. So that's pretty much all I have for you today. I really hope you've enjoyed this video. Let me know down in the comments below if you've read any of these books and what you thought of them. I would love to hear your opinions. And if you like this video, I hope you'll consider giving it a like, maybe even subscribing to see what comes next. I'm currently posting every Tuesday and Saturday, so there is more content coming soon, and I hope to see you in the next video. Bye.